Hey guys, if you're interested in learning how to turn a luminous foundation into a matte or a matte foundation into a luminous, then stick around and keep on watching. Hey guys, and this is Gabe. This is Gabe Loves Makeup, and I hope everybody is doing well today. If anybody is new to my channel, welcome. My name is I am a 49-year-old makeup artist. I've been in the industry for almost 25 plus years. I've worked for all the major brands from Lauder to Lancome to Dior to Stila to Laura Mercier. I have freelanced. I have been in the field. I've worked for all the major retailers, and so I have some stuff to say about the industry and the business, and I have a couple tips and tricks and stuff here and there. So anyway, I'm so glad that you're here, and if you're one of my older subscribers, I'm so glad that you're back. Before I get started, really quickly, I just wanted to give a great big shout out to Tara Lynn. She's also a YouTube creator, and she's also a makeup channel as well. And she posted this really beautiful post yesterday, and she did, and just said the most nicest things. And all of her subscribers, or quite a few of her subscribers, came over to my channel and watched some of my things, and have just left the most beautiful comments and have subscribed to my channel. And the whole thing is just very overwhelming. So thank you, Tara Lynn, for that. I really do appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. That's something that you did not have to do. But you did that out of the kindness of your heart, and I really do appreciate that. And to all your subscribers, or all the people that are just now joining me that have came over from your channel to check me out, I really do appreciate you guys' support and your love and your appreciation and all the really wonderful, kind and nice things that you said to me. I hope that I've got to everybody's comments. I tried my best to everybody that had commented or has left me a little message or something. I've tried to give back to everybody. So if I didn't, I'm sorry. I hope that I will see it, and I will get to comment on it, because I want to talk to everybody, because I'm a big people person, and I like to talk to everybody, and and everybody always has questions, or just little things, and because it means a lot to me when I get those kind of things done from a creator. So I know that it means a lot to give that back. So, and I really do appreciate Tara blessing me with some of her subscribers. So I really do appreciate that. So without further ado, let's get into whatever we're going to talk. What we're talking about today. Whatever we're going to talk about today. What are we talking about today? So we are going to kind of play a little bit today. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one of your foundations that you currently have, and we're going to turn it either into a more of a luminous foundation, or we can turn it into more of a matte foundation, or maybe into more of a natural foundation. So I've got a couple different formulas of foundation here, and I've got some setting sprays, I have some serums, I have some oils, and I have some illuminators and some things that we're going to kind of play with today to kind of show you how to, instead of like going out each time a new foundation comes out, and or it might be or maybe you're not ready for a new foundation, something to save you some money, a little bit of time even. You might have a lot of these things around at home where you really didn't realize that you can mix them and kind of do things with it. If you're in a pinch, or if you're not in the market for a new foundation and you don't want to go out and spend the money, but you want something luminous, but you have something that's more matte. Just little tips and tricks to kind of give you guys a little bit of a better idea of how to utilize some of the things that you might have at home to create your own kind of a foundation. Now, just a little disclaimer. First of all, not every foundation will work. So just remember that if we're creating more of a, if you're wanting more of a matte look in a foundation, but your foundation's already matte, it's not gonna, I think adding whatever is not gonna make it even more matter. It may make it more difficult to blend. Also, if you have something super dewy, just remember that there's only so much that you can do to kind of make it matte. Just remember that it is very important for you to find a foundation that really attributes to your skin. So if you are more dry, make sure that you're using a foundation that's more for dry skin. If you're more normal combination, make sure you're using one that's for that. If you're more normal, you can kind of play with everything. And then, of course, if you're more oilier, make sure that you're using something that's maybe a little bit more on the matte side, or something that's a little bit more on the long wear side, so you will get a little bit of a long lasting power. Now, before we also start to, just remember that, when you mix things in, if it is a longer lasting foundation, it may take away some of the potency of it lasting longer. So even though it will make it look a certain way, it may not last as long as if you have a 24-hour foundation and you make it look more, and it's more of a matte, but you want to make it more luminous. And if you add certain things to it, it can break down the formula a little bit more into the power. The staying power may not look as stay on as well, and it will change the way it looks a lot too sometimes. And the same thing with versus going if you want to do it more matte. So just keep that in mind. Also too, if you're doing a special event or if you're going somewhere and you know that it's special or whatever, that is not the time to play and want to go, oh, let me mix this and this and this, unless you've just done it a couple times previously before and you know that it's going to work for you. Don't do any kind of a special occasion, or don't plan on doing something at the last minute if it's something important that you need to look your best and you know that this particular foundation looks great on you all the time, and if you add something to it, you may not know what it's going to do. It might do the opposite. Also remember that mixing certain oils and certain things, if you're oily skin, that sometimes that can create a problem. Just remember to be careful with that, because it can make you maybe a little bit more oilier. It maybe make your makeup not last as long. So you just have to take in a lot of context with stuff. So when you're playing, it's great. Like if you're just going to go to work and you're like, oh, I just want to try this out today and see how it works, then play and kind of like get that feedback for yourself, and kind of like go ahead and mix a couple little things together or whatever. Do a little concoction, try it that day. If it doesn't work, then you're like, oh well, maybe I don't need that in there, maybe I could put this in it instead and just do that, and maybe it would work better. Try little experiments on yourself. I just wouldn't plan on doing it on an important day where you really need it. So with that said, let's get started. So we want to, so I've got a couple of different ones. So I think I want to start with more of the matte to luminous situation. So what I have here is I've got a couple of different foundations, but I'm going to start off with the Charlotte Tilbury, because she, to me, is a very, very, it's definitely more of a matte finish to me. It kind of eventually later on in the day, as it grows on, it will get a little bit more luminous, but it is a beautiful foundation, but it has a little bit more of a matte texture. So what I want to do is I want to show you a little bit. I'm going to take a little bit of the Charlotte Tilbury just on its own, and I'm going to put it just on the back of my hand. And I can feel the mattness. It's just kind of like, it's one of those that, like, when you spread it, it's just a little bit more difficult. Now also, just forgot to throw in, just remember too, primers underneath, powders underneath, over top, whatever that is going to also affect the foundation as well. So remember, if you're using more of if you've got one that's a little bit more silicone-y or whatever, that's going to, a primer, that's going to take away from your foundation, maybe looking a little bit more luminous, or if your skin is really more oily, just remember certain primers and certain things like that can kind of also mess it up too. So it's just kind of like using a little bit of just street smarts, I guess, so to speak. Just kind of like look at what you have, and then, like I said, experiment before any events or anything special that you want to use, and then see if it's going to work for you or not. So anyway, so back to the Charlotte Tilbury. So this is, so now we give it a little time to dry down so you can see what it looks like. So this is dried down. So you see that kind of like it's got a pretty fit, but it's still matte. Like, to me, I can feel the matte texture on the top. So let's just try to stay, let's play with it, and let's make it a little bit more on the dewy side. So I've got my Scott Barnes glass here. I'm going to take just a little bit of the Charlotte Tilbury. We're going to take a little bit of that. We're going to take just a little something like a little serum. I'm going to take a little drop of my JLo serum. I'm going to take just a little bit of that. And we're going to take a little bit of, let's see, where is my, oh, I'm going to take a little bit of the Auric, and I'm going to take a little bit of that in there. Now, I want it to be more luminous, so I want to add a little bit of an illuminator in it. If you're not wanting to make it more luminous and you want to just make it more wet and more just hydrating, then just use a serum. Don't really use the illuminator to go with it. So also, I'm going to take a little drop of, let's see which one I want to use. I'm going to use a little bit of the Drew Barrymore, the Flower Beauty. I always call it Drew Barrymore, but it's Flower Beauty. I'm going to take a little bit of the Skin Celestial. I'm going to take a little bit of that. I've taken a little bit of the Auric. I'm taking a pump of that, or maybe not even a pump, maybe a half a pump, and then a little half a pump of the JLo Beauty serum. We're going to take that. Now we're going to take it a little bit, and we're going to kind of mix that all together. You're going to get a little bit more of a serum-y foundation. It's going to give it a little bit more of a luminous, more of a silky satin finish. So now I'm going to take it up above that where we did it before. Now see the difference of the way that it looks? It really just made it look more luminous. It's got more of a luminous texture instead of more of that matte texture. So now you've got a little bit. Now let me dry it down just a little bit more so you can see it a little bit better. Now see the glow in this one? See, the bottom is not glowy as well as the top. Look how much more the top, how much more glowy that is. So therefore you just created a whole new foundation basically. So now it's a whole different foundation and a whole new finish. So that's really cool, isn't it? So I'm gonna do a little bit on my skin too in a little bit. I'm gonna mix up something in a little bit and show you guys I get so many compliments on my skin and how I do it. Right now I just have on moisturizer. I don't have on anything else, and I put a little lip oil of Dior lip oil on my lips, but I'll put something on in a little bit and we'll kind of play with it in just a minute. But I wanted to show you guys some ideas first. So next, let's take a more of a luminous foundation and let's make it just a little bit more matte. So I'm going to take a little bit. My most luminous one is my Chanel in the Le Beige. I'm going to take a little bit of that. I'm going to take just a little bit of the Tasha Silk Canvas. I'm going to take a little drop of that in it. I don't want to add too much of that in it. And then I'm going to also take a little bit of the Huda powder. It's my most matte powder. So I'm going to take just a little, I'm going to pat just a little bit of that onto my glass. A little bit on my glass. And you see, that's kind of like what it looks like. So we're going to take the powder and we're going to mix it into the foundation. Okay, and I kind of got it all mixed in together. So on this hand, I'm going to take it on the back of my hand here. And that's what it looks like. And it made it a little bit more of like a natural to a more of a semi-matte finish is the foundation. I'm gonna do a little bit of the foundation above it without anything in it. So I don't know if you guys can see, but if like you can see it, but this one is the top layer. See how much more glowy that is? Look at the bottom part, see how much more matte that is? It feels more of it's got more of that powdery slip to it. This has got more of a tack to it. So you can definitely feel more of the radiance in it. So it definitely looks more radiant. And when I look at it, I can definitely see the radiance on the top where this one looks more flat. And see, that looks more radiant, that looks more flat. Isn't that cool? So it's kind of fun too. And then too, if you want to too, you can always take like a little bit more of a matte spray over top of it. And you can just take it and just set it a little bit. I'm gonna take a little bit of my Huda Boss spray. This is the Huda Boss spray. And this stuff, let me tell you, it's like hairspray, ain't going nowhere. And you pat just a little bit over top of it and it makes it super matte. So it gives it like a really super matte look to it. So it's really cool because you can just add little things to things and kind of create your own little concoction. So it's a lot of fun actually. So let's do a luminous, more of like a luminous matte. So it's going to be a matte, but we don't want it to be dewy. We want it to feel matte, but have like a luminous texture. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to take a little bit of my Jaclyn Hill powder. Now she just reformulated or not reformulated them, but I think she repackaged them and everything. It's just some of the same colors. So this is her first launch that she did. She's getting ready to come out with some newer ones this week. So they're in Ulta, and then then she also came out with them this. I think it was yesterday. They launched yesterday, so you can check that out if you like her. If you want to try out one of her powders, but see, it's just kind of like a little bit more of it's got a little bit more of that glow to it, but it's still like a matte, but it's got a glow to it. So I added a little bit of that to it. So I'm going to take a little bit of my All Hours in the Yves Saint Laurent, and we're going to take a little bit of that because it's a beautiful matte foundation, and I'm going to take a little bit of that and mix it in with the powder. And so we're gonna mix that powder in with the foundation. Now the foundation is already a matte. So if you're oily, this is gonna be just perfect if you want a little bit of a glow, but you don't want the oil or the slip on the skin. Okay, so I'm trying to find an area where I can find it. So here's on the back of my arm. So this is with the powder in the inside of it. See how it's drying down matte still, but you can still see a little bit of a glow to it. Like, see, when I see it up close, you can really see it. I don't know if you can see the justice of it on camera, but you can see that glow in it. So let me show you the foundation by itself up above it. So I'm gonna put a little bit right here. This foundation goes a long way, so you don't really need a lot. So I'm gonna put just a little bit above my arm right there. Now that's the foundation by itself. It's drying down, so you gotta give it a little minute to dry down. But see the difference? See, this has got, it's still matte, but you can see the luminosity in it. See how the luminosity coming in? And then you see this right here, it just went to more of that semi-matte. So this has got more luminosity. This is just more of a semi-matte. So it's just really, it's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting. So let's do like you want to do a more of like a tinted moisturizer type deal. And we can do like a full, let's do something with a little bit more full coverage and make it a little bit more luminous. So let's take my Dior. I've got my Dior. This is the face and body backstage makeup. This one's like a little bit more of a natural finish. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this. I'm gonna take just a little bit. And we're gonna take a little bit on my plate. Just a little bit, see it's kind of runny. It's very natural. It's very like light, whatever. So I'm going to take a drop of my the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Serum. Sorry, got the lid off of it. Quarter round. The Charlotte Tilbury Magic Serum. So I'm going to take a little drop of that. Just remember, serums are different textures too. So if you have a serum that's a little sticky, you don't want to mix it with anything that will make it too tacky. I always like the things that are a little more hyaluronic acid. It's got more of that watery feel to it. It always seems to do a little bit better and spreads a little better, especially if you're using a brush. But see, when you blend it together, how pretty that looks. So we're just going to take a little bit again. Let's take a little bit here because I wiped my hand off good. So I'm going to take a little bit, quite a bit here so you can see it. See how pretty that is? See, it's just really beautiful. It's very wet looking, so it looks very hydrated, but it's not super gloss. It's not super oily, or it doesn't have an oily look to it. It's just very super wet. So now I'm going to show you the foundation on its own. So, and you got to give it just a second to dry down because it is like a long wearing formula. This stuff is great. It's waterproof. It stays on really, really well. But see, this is the top part right up here. And see how more wet that looks. And then see the bottom part. See how more dry down it dried down. It's got more of a natural matte finish. And then at the top, it's more wet and it's more hydrating looking. So you just can play with things and kind of get what you want out of it. And again, adding spray, you know, if you're really oily, you can take, powder underneath and then a primer, then powder, then do your foundation to help control the oil. Again, for oily, I don't really recommend using an oil unless it's a super, super matte makeup. You got to be careful with oil, even if it's only a drop, because sometimes that may be too much. But, sometimes oily skin can be dehydrated and it can make your foundation look really pretty. So again, you just have to play with it and see what works for you, basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the Gucci foundation. I'm going to take a little bit of my Gucci. And I'll write down all the shades and stuff down below if you guys want to know my shades. And if I could have that, I'll put them down below. But I'm going to take about 2 pumps of the Gucci. I'm going to do 2 pumps of the Gucci. I'm going to do a little bit of the Lorac Skin Glass Primer. I'm going to take a little bit of that in with it. A little bit of the Skin Glass Primer. I'm going to take a little bit of that. And I'm going to take a little drop of the Kevyn Aucoin. It's the Glass Glow Face. I'm going to take a little bit of that. I'm going to add that to it just to give a little bit more slip because it's a very emollient type feel to it. Just a little bit of the Victoria Beckham. I'm going to take my Victoria Beckham priming, rejuvenating primer. I'm gonna take a little bit of that. And, what else do I want to add? Let me see. What else do I want to add? This is always so much fun for me. I always like doing this. I love mixing. This is what I do all the time. So I love mixing stuff together. I just think it's fun. And I'm sure you guys have seen other makeup artists do it. It's not like it's anything new, but it's just fun to me. I just really, really enjoy it. And it's always fun just to remind people that, you know, you can mix stuff together sometimes and come out with some really cool stuff. So I'm going to take a little drop of my Auric and I'm going to put just a little bit of that in there. So I got a nice little concoction going on here. So we got a nice little concoction. So, I mean, if you can see it, I'm going to take up the camera. You can see it like that. So we're going to take it, mix it together. And, you know, and first I'm going to show you on my hand what it looks like before we go to another area. So this is the blend that I made. This is the Gucci by itself. The Gucci has already started to dry down really quickly, and it's already dried down to a matte finish. The one that I created has got more of a slip to it. So it feels a little bit more on the, like it's got a little bit more on the slippy side. So it's got a little bit more for dryness and everything. It's got that little bit more of a slip. You can just kind of create it and add sometimes a little moisturizer or a little bit of the oil to it, or a little bit of like, I love the Huda, the Wishful, the Trap. I love the Charlotte Tilbury, the Magic Serum. It's great to add this stuff too because it's like, it's kind of got that hyaluronic type feel to it. Which is which really kind of makes it kind of fun. So it just depends on what you're wanting for that evening or that day. Also remembering, you know, you can spray a little bit of a glass skin primer over it to give a little bit more of a glowy look. You can use a long wear spray like the Infallible, which is kind of not really it's not a super matte, but it's not a super luminous. It's kind of an in-between, and that'll make it stay. And then you have stuff like then you have stuff like the Huda Boss spray that will make it really stay on, but it really makes the skin feel matte. So it really gives that mattifying look to the skin. So there's all kinds of sprays, primers too. That really helps if you do more of a luminous primer underneath. That's going to give you more of a luminosity as well, as you know, which you know. And then if you use a primer that's a little bit more for oilier skin, you know, underneath, that's going to help keep it a little bit more matte or a little bit more gripping. You know, if you're super dry sometimes, I'm going to be honest with you, Vaseline is one of the best primers. If you just use a thin layer, it's like a gripping primer because it grips everything. But if you're dry, your skin's going to absorb it, and then it kind of creates a barrier to protect you from the foundation, and it just really just blends all in really well with it. So I know a lot of people use it as slugging at night and stuff, but you know, Marilyn Monroe, that was one of her big tricks that she used. Her makeup artist always put a thin coat of Vaseline underneath her makeup to make her skin look radiant. And believe it or not, it stays on really well. It feels a little weird at first, but it is really, really cool. So, so I'm going to put on a little foundation real quick for you guys. I'm just going to do a real quick foundation here. So I'm going to do that little concoction that I just did. I'm going to do just a little bit of primer because I haven't done any. I'm going to do it in the Gucci Silk Primer. If you guys have been around with me, you kind of know that I love this primer. It's a very natural, very lightweight primer. It's not super dewy or anything. So I wanted to give it kind of like a chance. I don't want it to be too dewy, or I want kind of like a natural, more of an in-between. Because since I'm doing more of a dewier look with this foundation, because I'm so dry, I would try to show you guys a matte look, but I'm telling you, it looks terrible on me. If I do one of the matte with the powder and then one of the matte foundation, oh my God, I would be a hot mess. I would not look good at all. So I'm going to take a Real Techniques sponge, and we're just going to go into the glass a little bit. I'm going to kind of work it out a little bit. And we're just going to take it onto the skin. And I'm just going to take a little bit over my lid here. Kind of go up a little bit here. Because I've got a little table in between my legs. I've got all my stuff, you know. It's like, you know, when you're first starting out doing this stuff, you know, you guys, it's like, it's kind of like very, especially when you're in a small little room. Not a lot of room to work with here. It's like, you know, maybe one of these days. And by the way, I'm still using my phone Tara's got on to me about it because it's like I'm gonna work and get that camera started. But I have a Canon camera. I've just been really scared because of my memory and everything. But she's really helping me out a lot, which is just great. I mean, she's just been so wonderful. I can't tell you how wonderful and dear she is to my heart already. You know, but I'm learning some techniques and tricks and stuff, and eventually I will get a lot better at this. But just so you guys know, I mean, I'm not nearly as good as she is. So if you came over from her channel, just know I'm not half of what she is yet. So eventually I will get there. It's just like we just got a lot to learn, a lot of the tricks of the trade and everything, because I'm just not new to this whole camera thing and everything. I'm used to working behind the camera. I'm not used to working in front of the camera. And then on top of me doing my own makeup, because I'm used to doing everybody else's makeup. I'm not used to doing my own. But see how beautiful that looks? I mean, that just looks just stunning. That's beautiful. It's like a beautiful luminous. Oops. See, I'm knocking things. I always knock something over, by the way. So if you guys ever join my, I knock something over in every video. It never ceases to amaze me, but I'm always knocking something over. But see, it just looks really, really beautiful. It looks smooth. It looks really pretty. It's very soft to the touch. Of course, it hasn't dried down completely yet, but the little bit of the Kevin O'Quan has got that very moisturizing, almost kind of a little bit of a Vaseline kind of feel, which I love. And it just gives that beautiful radiance. But if I want to put this in it, it would probably have already had a little bit more of a dry down. So again, it's just kind of like what you mix in with it a little bit to kind of give it that extra emolliency when you need it. Or maybe, you know, because if you're using a natural foundation every day, and you may not need that extra emolliency sometimes. Sometimes you don't need that. You might want it to be a little bit more, you might want to keep it more on the natural side, or you might want to add a little bit more of a powder, or maybe just to make it just a luminous powder to give it a little bit more of a matte look, but not super matte, just to kind of give it, but it'll still have a matte. When you touch it, it won't feel emollient. So it's just kind of like all what you're kind of looking for and what you want to do. But let's just do this other side, since I'm kind of playing with it or whatever. But see, it just goes into the skin so beautifully, and it's just really, really light. It's not heavy. And I love this Gucci foundation anyway, but I do always mix something with it because I just like the results even better with something mixed with it. Alone, it's okay alone. It's really not that bad, but I just prefer something kind of mixed with it. But yeah, it's a beautiful foundation. I've heard mixed results with this foundation, but you know, all these foundations, everybody has said one or two things. You know, some people love it, some people hate it or whatever, but sometimes you may buy a foundation and you may not like it, but if you mix something with it, you'll be like, oh, like, you know, sometimes, a lot of times, hold on a minute, and I'll show you. Hold on just a second. Let me finish blending this out real quick. Okay, so I'll let this dry down before I spray it. But so let's say, for example, you want to do a because I get excited about this stuff. I love it. I just get so excited about it. So my shirt kind of like I get so excited about stuff. So anyway, let's say, for example, you wanted to use something kind of like the Chanel, but you don't want the full dewiness. You're not in the mood for dewy. So you're kind of like, well, you know, I've got it, but I mean, I'm not in the mood for dewy. I need something a little bit more matte. But, you know, maybe in your closet you have your Shiseido Synchro Skin. Let's just say you got it in this. So let's just say, and so let's say, let me put some primer on my hand. I'm just going to do the Gucci because, again, it's more neutral. It's not really super glowy or super dewy or whatever. It's just like a luminous, it's what they call like a luminous, it is like a luminous matte because once it dries down. So we're just putting that on it. So let's take a little pump of the Shiseido Skin. Oh, turn it around. I'm going to take a little pump of my Shiseido Skin, which I've not used in a while. She's kind of been a little neglected. By itself, it's a matte to me. It's a little too matte for me. I prefer more of a, I got a little more of I have the Synchro Glow, and I love that one much better. So now let's take a little bit of the Chanel. I'm going to take a little bit of that with it, and we're going to take it both together. And the Chanel's going to give me a little radiance, but the Synchro Skin is going to blend. It's going to help mask that out a little bit. Look at that. How beautiful is that? That's like a beautiful, natural, you still have a little bit of a glow, but it's not over the top. Whereas if you did the Chanel by itself, it would be super glowy. And not only that, but the Synchro Skin's got a little bit more of a longevity with it, so it'll make the Chanel last a little bit longer. You know, and then of course when you spray it or you set it, or you might want to add powder to it, it's however you nurture it over the top is what you're going to get out of it. So let me just take, because I don't know if I want to kind of keep a little bit, I'm going to take just a little bit of my infallible spray. I'm just going to spray it. Take a little bit of that, and then I'm just going to kind of set it. Because I love longwear sprays because they really do work. I love the Charlotte Tilbury. That's another one of my favorites. I use a lot. And my hydrating sprays, my favorite ones are the Glass Skin by Maybelline, because first of all, it's like so inexpensive. And I love the Huda. I love hers. The coconut one, I love that. It's awesome. But yeah, see, it's just great. I just need a little. Put more of my lip on because my lips are dry. And it just makes your skin look so beautiful and so glad. I mean, it just makes it feel so good. And you could use powder. Again, you can set it if you want to. You can do, you know, add stuff to it if you don't, and you just want to just keep it just like this. If you want to add some concealer, you know, whatever you want. But it just helps, you know, it's just a little trick of the trade to kind of show you guys, a little something different, you know, if you want to just kind of jazz up what you have instead of going out, running out and buying a new foundation. And again, if you need a good foundation that is for your skin type, I definitely recommend that. I don't always recommend mixing stuff. If you really need something for your skin type, you should have one exactly for your skin type. But if you have a different variety of makeups, like if you like a little dewy and you have a dewy and you have a matte and you have this and you have that and you have like 3 or 4 and you play around with them, or like a CC cream or a tinted moisturizer or whatever you may have, you can kind of always add a little some of your skincare with it, add a little luminizer with it, or a little bit of a highlighter with it, just to kind of give you like that little bit more luminosity if you want. Or like I said, if you want to add powder to it to give it a little bit more of a matte look, or if you want to do more of a luminizing powder to give it a glow, but it still has a matte look. You know, it's just the possibilities are endless, especially if you're adding primers to it and other things to it to kind of give you that look that you want. But anyway, guys, I hope that this helps you guys out a little bit. It gives you guys something a little fun to play with. You know, please leave down in the comments down below if there's a certain trick that you do, if there's something that you really love to share with us. You know, if there's something I didn't go over, you know, if you're a makeup artist and you have some tricks that you like to share, that's always great. You know, I always love to hear other people's feedback, because, you know, you might do something different to be like, oh, wow, Gabe, I really use this every day and I do this and it's really awesome, you know, just to share with us. Because, you know, everybody, we're all learning. You know, it's like this to me, it's like we're all, you're never too old to learn, regardless of how long you've been in the industry or whatever. If you quit learning, you quit growing. And, you know, and so I always love learning from other people. I still learn from people twice my age or how much are more younger than me that are just so good. I mean, there's so many talented, wonderful people in this industry that it's very hard to just shut yourself off and go, you know, oh, well, I know everything, because I don't know everything. I don't know even like this much of it, probably. You know, makeup has advanced so much since when I came out. It's definitely changed a lot. You know, so we all learn from each other. So please list anything you have down below, a little thing you got, ritual you got going on. Maybe it's a spray that you mix with the foundation that you love to do. Maybe it's a powder that you love mixing with the foundation, or an oil or something, or whatever. You know, just give some feedback. You know, kind of let us know what you kind of do down below. It's always interesting. I want to see what you guys do, not always what I do or what somebody else does, but I kind of would like to know what you do. So anyway, so thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you make sure you click like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to be a little part of my family, I would love to have you. All the information will be down below in the description box. So anyway, hope you have a great rest of the day, and thank you so much for dropping in, and take care, and see you soon. Bye.